Some critics have slammed Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street for being sexist, misogynist, and even an endorsement for the despicable criminal lifestyle of its main characters. But does depicting bad behavior, albeit somewhat gleefully at times, really qualify as an endorsement? Has the internet echo chamber whipped up a controversy where it doesn't even really belong because they're missing a nice moral ending at the end of a troubling story? So let's just start with the criticisms of the film. I think the first criticism that really came out was maybe just before the film was even released in the LA Weekly. Someone who was a victim of one of Belfort's sort of co-conspirators at the time came forward and said that the film, I mean, we can pull up the graphic actually. It's in an open letter to the makers of the film. Christina McDowell, who she testified against Jordan, says, your film is a reckless attempt at continuing to pretend that these sorts of schemes are entertaining, even as the country is reeling from yet another round of Wall Street scandals. We want to get lost in what? These phony financiers, fun sexcapades, and coke binges? Come on, we know the truth. This kind of behavior brought America to its knees. Now, I don't know if she saw the movie.
She didn't see the movie.
Because I felt like that was the point of the movie.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese himself, Leonardo DiCaprio himself have said, like, we need their, exegesis to make sense out of the movie. Yeah, they're aware of this fact. And she didn't see the movie when she saw it. And this is the same kind of thing that has gone on in Scorsese's career for years. You know, Last Temptation of Christ, people condemned the movie without seeing it. People have, when they were trying to make Raging Bull, one of the executives in charge of the film said, I can't get behind this movie. It's about a man who's essentially a cockroach. There's always, the main thing about Wolf of Wall Street, and I suppose I'm sort of breaking a rule of criticism by relating it to other Scorsese movies, but if you accept the idea that Scorsese is an artist, he's not just a person in the movie industry who makes Hollywood movies. If you accept the idea that he's an artist, that he's made a work of art that has a certain level of ambiguity, that does treat this sort of thing as kind of a farce, but a mordant farce, and that it has certain levels of narrative distancing and things happening within the narrative that are meant to jar you out of this sort of hypnotic spell of the atavism of these characters, as for instance when he's relating a story when the narrator, Jordan Belfort, portrayed by Leonardo DiCaprio, is relating a story of sexual promiscuity among one of the Stratton Oakmont employees, and then says, and then the guy got depressed and killed himself, and there's a very quick shot of a bathtub filled with blood and an arm hanging out of it that takes you out of all the fun. If you're not paying
attention, what kind of person you are, though, that's also a punchline.
It's a punch. Well, I guess it is depending on what kind of person you are, but if you're a critical viewer and you
easy, Sarah. No.
Well, I think it had to show the fun of it so that you understood why this lifestyle was so appealing in the first place, why you would make these moral concessions to live this way. So the film had to operate as something gleeful and enjoyable, just like a drug movie. Just any drug movie that's going to do justice to the drug is going to tell you why people are doing the drug. That doesn't mean it's endorsing it, but it means this is why people are doing this.
I'm curious if there were any other movies this year that you felt like maybe deserved more criticism for being sexist or offensive in some way, rather than Wolf of Wall Street.
Was there a Smurfs picture out this year?
There was, too.
Best answer ever.
It was horrific, and I am insulted on behalf of Lady Kind. I'm going to be perfectly honest and tell you that I don't think so, not in my experience, but then again, my viewing experience has not been comprehensive. I do think, to your earlier question, I think that there's a difference between the way that we view TV and the way that we view film. Television is something we experience in our homes. It's more intimate, perhaps, and maybe that's why we give the characters more leeway. It's almost like they're family members or something.
Right.
Whereas with film, it's very much a structured outside the home experience. We go to escape, and maybe some people aren't comfortable escaping into a world without easy answers.
Oh, Rich, did you want to say something?
If in case we're going to move on, there is one moral problem that I do have with The Wolf of Wall Street, and it may be just the problem with sort of culture in general, but there's a really big divide between slurs, epithets in that movie. They use the word faggot very freely, to call each other it, whatever. The one time that the N-word is invoked, they actually say the words the N-word.
Yes.
Jonah
Yes,
Hill
that's really
wakes
interesting,
up
yeah.
Belfort on the plane, and he's like, you called the pilot the N-word, which in whenever that's supposed to be, I think it's around 92 at that point. First of all, they wouldn't be, I don't even know if people said the N-word in 1992. Plus,
Glenn?
those guys would
Yeah, well,
never,
I think
never
it speaks to the way that masculinity is formulated in that
No, I was just
environment.
referring to the year 1992.
Yeah, no, I was
But I
there.
think-
I was
but I-
there. That's what I'm saying.
But I think that's unrealistic.
Formulated in
though.
1992.
But I think that's unrealistic. I don't think those guys would ever say
No,
to,
they would not,
especially
yeah.
amongst each other,
Yeah.
the N-word.
They probably wouldn't have, nor would they have said the 1%.